Here's the problem. It's going to be 4 years for another mission to reach me. And I'm in a hat designed to last 31 days. So I got to make water and grow food on a planet where nothing grows. He's 50 million miles from home. What the hell is he thinking right now?
I am the greatest botanist on this planet.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
I know how to save Mark Watney.
We need the Hermes crew.
I'm not risking their lives. It's bigger than one person.
No, it's not.
NASA rejected the mission.
So if we do this?
We're talking mutiny. If anything goes wrong, we die.
No matter what happens, tell the world, tell my family that I will never stop fighting to make it home.
Listening to Our Next Giant Leap, a podcast that's out of this world. And now, here is your host, Mike Williams.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a great holiday. Welcome to a brand new year of Our Next Giant Leap. I am your host, Mike Williams. Thank you for joining me today. This show is recorded live on TalkShoe every other Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time if you live in the U.S. For more information on how to listen in live, go to my website, mikewilliamsinc.wordpress.com, and click on the TalkShoe link. It's the start of a new year, and with that, some changes to the show. I know we're only 3 shows in, but it's my goal to keep making this show better. So let me tell you about a few things that are going to be happening this year. There are plans in the works for some contests where prizes will be given away, such as a t-shirt, hats, and other memorabilia. I would also like to do some prominent interviews with people in the aerospace industry, and I have a few leads on that. There will be a design change on the profile picture that you see when you download the podcast. I've been looking into doing some remote broadcasts from different events this year, and I'm also looking for a co-host to help me out with the show. So if you live in the Central Florida area or anywhere on planet Earth, have a few extra hours a week, and would like to be a co-host on Our Next Giant Leap, you can drop me a line at mikewilliams573@gmail.com, or you can leave me a voicemail at 321-351-8539, and that's a U.S. number. So there are just some of the things I'm going to be working on in the coming months. Today, we're going to be talking about the movie The Martian, which premiered last fall and is being proclaimed as the most realistic sci-fi movie ever made. For those of you who haven't seen the movie, here's the synopsis from IMDb, which is the Internet Movie Database. During a manned mission to Mars, astronaut Mark Watney, played by Matt Damon, is presumed dead after a fierce storm and left behind by his crew. But Watney has survived and finds himself stranded and alone on the hostile planet. With only meager supplies, he must draw upon his ingenuity, wit, and spirit to subsist and find a way to signal Earth that he is alive. The movie is based on a best-selling book wrote by Andy Weir. If you've seen the movie but haven't read the book, I definitely recommend you check out the book. It goes into a lot more detail than the movie does. So what's true and what's not so true about the movie? Let's first take a look at the huge dust storm that came up and forced the evacuation of the crew. Here's a clip from the movie.
is almost zero. Anyone gets lost, hone into my suit's telemetry. You ready?
Ready! Commander, are you okay?
I'm okay.
Hey! We might be able to keep the map from tipping!
Watch out!
This is probably the most erroneous part of the movie. While there are huge dust storms on Mars, there is very little air pressure on the planet. So a 100-mile-per-hour dust storm will feel like 11 miles per hour. Hardly enough to blow over a ship. I'm going to give them a pass on that. In fact, Andy Weir said in an interview that he knows all too well about the major fake storm, but he wanted to quickly get to the plot of stranding Mark Watney on Mars. The second is the Hermes spacecraft. In The Martian, the Hermes uses ion propulsion to go between Earth and Mars. Unlike chemical rockets, which use large thrust in a short period of time, the Hermes uses gradual thrust over longer periods. This can be done with ion drives, which accelerate charged particles at high speeds. Okay, enough with the technical jargon. At this time, we don't yet have drives powerful enough for a spacecraft like the Hermes. However, ion drives are being used in missions like the Dawn spacecraft, which is currently at Ceres. In the movie, the spacecraft is shown constantly rotating in space, giving the occupants inside a sense of some gravity. With the distance and duration of a trip to Mars being very long, having some artificial gravity for the astronauts will help in preventing things like muscle and bone loss. I do believe that the Hermes spacecraft portrayed in the movie is a little over-engineered because sending something that massive to Mars would just be too expensive and complicated. However, the use of ion propulsion for larger spacecraft and artificial gravity for long-duration human missions are just some of the things being worked on. When we see Matt Damon's character Mark Watney moving heavy objects around or moving around himself on Mars, he seems to be doing it with a little bit of a struggle. A struggle that is a characteristic of Earth's gravity. It should look and be easier to move around on Mars due to its 1/3 gravity of Earth. When director Ridley Scott was asked why he didn't show Mars's low gravity in the movie, he said it was just too hard to create. The spacesuits in The Martian are very lightweight and easy to move around in, which would make the former Apollo astronauts very envious of the Ares 3 crew. The biggest problem that the Apollo astronauts had on the moon was mobility. In fact, when the spacesuits for the moon were fully pressurized, they would blow up like a balloon, which was deemed the balloon effect, making it very hard to move around in. When spacewalks are performed outside the space station these days, astronauts have a hard shell torso in their spacesuits that give them more mobility without the balloon effect. But the spacesuits used today still have to have a certain amount of air pressure in them for astronauts to survive, which makes them still very bulky. Astronauts going to Mars will be spending a lot more time exploring. With Mars having very low air pressure, spacesuits would have to have more air pressure and be more bulky than the ones shown in the movie. However, scientists and engineers are working on lighter weight and less bulky suits for Mars exploration. Now it's time for the question of the day. In The Martian, keeping track of how long Mark Watney was on Mars is measured in sols. It was pretty easy to determine that sol means a day on Mars. But what exactly does sol stand for? Sol stands for solar day. An example would be the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which uses the measurement of soul to figure out how long their rovers, like Curiosity and Spirit, have been moving around on Mars, or how long they've been active. For instance, the Curiosity rover has been on Mars for 1,214 sols. The reason for using sols instead of days is because Mars's day is a little longer than Earth's. An Earth day is 24 hours, and a Martian day is 24 hours and 39 minutes. A Martian year is almost twice as long as Earth's at 687 days. If you have any questions about Mars or space in general, you can email me at mikewilliams573@gmail.com, or you can leave me a voicemail at 321-351-8539. Let's talk a little bit about the Martian hab in the movie. In the movie, the space hab is an inflatable habitat that the astronauts use for their living quarters and research facility. These kinds of modules are already being built and tested for Mars applications someday. The hab in the movie had an oxygenator that created oxygen using the carbon dioxide from the MAVS fuel generator. On the International Space Station, astronauts have an oxygen generation system which reprocesses the atmosphere of the spacecraft to provide breathable air. One of the biggest things that people have been talking about since the movie came out has been about how Matt Damon's character Mark Watney grew potatoes on Mars using nothing but human waste, a little dirt from Earth, and Martian soil. So is this possible? Well, the quick answer is yes. A new collaborative project between the International Potato Center and NASA will see a crop of potatoes grown on Earth under the same conditions found on the red planet. The effort is not only a big step toward the goal of one day constructing a controlled farming dome on Mars, but will also demonstrate the potential of growing potatoes in inhospitable environments back home, something that researchers hope will help tackle world hunger one day. For the most part, the science and technology used in The Martian is pretty accurate. They did have NASA scientists and engineers consulting on the movie. In fact, one of the more interesting things about the film is that 50 pages of the script were written by NASA. Most of the technologies used in the movie are being developed today for a future journey to Mars. I do, however, highly recommend that you read the book or get the audiobook, which is available on Amazon and just about anywhere books are sold. The movie comes out in DVD on January 12th, but you can buy the streaming version now on YouTube for $14.99. I want to thank everyone for joining me today for this episode, whether you joined in live on the phone, via computer, the chat room, or you downloaded the show. A very happy New Year to everyone. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can drop me a line at mikewilliams573@gmail.com or leave me a voicemail at 321-351-8539. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at Our Next Giant LP, all one word. Our next episode will be Tuesday, January 19th. Robotic Missions to Mars. A roving we will go. It will air live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time here in the U.S. on TalkShoe. For more information on how to join in live on TalkShoe or for all the show notes and links, go to my website, mikewilliamsinc.wordpress.com, and click on the podcast button. Hope everyone has a great couple of weeks, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.